to try to control people, but it's backfired on them, Tommy, and I agree with you.
Right.
I don't see him putting it back in Pandora's box.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, it all comes down to the people, though. I mean, there's no piece of technology that's going to save us. There's no, golden solution. It's going to come down to people educating themselves, communicating with each other, and organizing.
And I also think being more cynical. I mean, I think after World War II, we won the war. We were the good guys. We beat the bad guys. We can do no wrong. And then the evil it was already there, just exploded. I think we have to come to grips with the fact that we really do have a corrupt, evil empire.
You know, it's hard. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I read the news, and it's hard to sort of find some sort of hope or optimism in all that. I think you do a really good job of instilling that into the people and in your show. But I think a lot of people feel the same way. And it's hard not to look at it and feel hopeless.
You know, I'm glad you're coming to South by Southwest this year. I know you're a speaker there. That hadn't been announced yet, so we won't get into any of the details. But I look forward to seeing you when you're actually here in town. There's some other exciting things I won't be announcing as well. But when is South by Southwest, Tommy?
It's in March, mid-March.
Tell us some of the things you're working on right now that you can. I mean, I know a lot of stuff is in embryonic phases, so you don't want to...
Well, right now I'm doing a sort of series of portraits of... people that are documentaries, and one that I'm doing is on Stephen Prince, who was a friend of Martin Scorsese's, and Scorsese made a film of him in the 70s, and I'm kind of visiting him 30 years later. And another thing that I'm doing is I'm developing a Philip K. Dick short story called Electric Ant. I'm working with some comic book writers to make a graphic novel out of it, and it's also going to be called Electric Ant. It's going to come out. Marvel's going to distribute that.
And then we'll see a film, I bet, out of that.
Hopefully. We'll see.
And you're working on some other big films, but you can't get into those.
Right. Yeah.
Some very exciting stuff.
Yeah. It's all, I'm really interested in science fiction and thrillers for the most part. And I'm always kind of amazed at of how a lot of these big mainstream movies almost have interesting ideas, and they're kind of skirting around these things, like Eagle Eye. I don't know if you saw that, but it's...
No, is it good?
No, it's not that good. But, it kind of deals with surveillance and artificial intelligence and computers to
so the idea is interesting, just it's not executed well.
Right. They definitely skirt it.
Eagle Eye.
Yeah.
Philip K. Dick, so much of what he wrote about and thought about came true. It was almost like he was prescient.
Yeah. I mean, I think about that. I think that some people are just really open to what's happening around them. And that Nixon era, that when he was writing, that's sort of kind of the Bush era too. There's a lot of there's parallels to that. And I think that some people are just more sensitive and they're more open to what's around them. And in retrospect, it seems like they're prescient, but they're really just sort of reflecting those times.
Hey, what do you think of the new digs?
I love it, man. This is amazing. It's really cool, and it's an honor to be here.
Oh, come on.
In studio.
Man. It's an honor to have you here, but we're going to build another TV studio out there, just for television, so it isn't as crazy. But we're doing the web thing. We're doing everything live right now. I'm going to take the best of each week and boil it down for a 1-hour TV show. I think we're going to do another TV show that's a live news program. But I really miss you, man. I miss going on those bike rides and hanging out and stuff. But going out boating on Lake Travis. But you hop around. I mean, you always kind of move back to Austin every 5-6 years.
Yeah.
I've known you for about 10 years now.
I circle.
Time sure flies. When are you, and now, do you want folks to know where you're living now?
Yeah, sure. You can tell them I'm living in Amsterdam currently.
You're living in the Netherlands.
Yep.
And you're working with a film company over there on some stuff.
Yep. Film company called Submarine. And it looks like I'm going to be doing a project in Abu Dhabi next for a museum there.
If folks want to find out more, what's the Submarine website?
It's submarine.nl.
Netherlands, submarine.nl. So you are just global. Well, let's get to some phone calls, or we'll never have time to take them. Let's go ahead and talk to Betty in Wisconsin. Betty, you're on the air with Tommy Pallottain.
Oh, Betty's gone. That must be an old list.
Okay, who's up next here? Because I got a big... Mark in Oregon, you're on the air. Then Bryant, Arnie, Leo, and others. Go ahead, Mark in Oregon.
Yeah, hey, Alex, and hey, Tommy. Great to speak with you. I've got a suggestion I'd like to make to both of you, and it's an idea I've had solely to further the cause of exposing the truth of 9/11 and the other truths which are directly or indirectly related to it. And that is actually a movie. And I would call the movie perhaps Alex Jones the Movie. I would call the movie A Day in the Life of Alex Jones. Maybe starting out first frame on the treadmill, and basically, Alex, it would require perhaps a speaking tour, a global speaking tour, to promote the movie, and you've always been interested in doing that. And I know time's of the essence these days, and you have to, both of you gentlemen, have to allocate your time to the greatest effect toward exposing the truth that needs to be exposed. But I wanted to suggest that I thought it would be something you could ponder on in the future, both of you. And Alex knows enough people that are associated with...
No. Let's make a movie about A Day in the Life of Tommy Pallottain.
No.
Alex, you'll go a long way if there's a movie about you. It'll make millions.
I don't even care about the money thing. I don't have any future to spend any money if we don't turn this around, man. Listen... Filmmaking takes a lot of time, a lot of energy. Even if you're like Steven Spielberg, it's hard to get the very film you want made. I mean, Empire Strikes Back, George Lucas almost had that taken away from him. Tommy, explain this to people, that it's hard to do things like this.
Well, it also changes. I mean, it's a very fluid business. And right now, like Waking Life was a movie that Alex was...
It's evergreen, by the way, bigger than ever now, right?
And Alex has one of my favorite scene in the whole movie. But that movie at that time was made completely independently, and we sold it to a distributor, and it got some distribution. But now the way that things are, I don't think that same movie would sell the same way, and I don't think it would get seen the same way. It's really a lot to do with timing.
Exactly, as they say, the planets have to align. And I appreciate your call. I hate talking about myself. This is ridiculous, Mark. I appreciate it. Trying to explain this. Look, Discovery Channel, and I'm not going to get into it because they asked me not to say too much, but some of it's been in the news now, so I can talk about it, made a $3.5 million film because Discovery was going to go the way of kind of a BBC or an HBO.
Right.
They wanted like a name for real filmmaking. So one of the top filmmakers in the country in documentary, he's like the number 2 guy. He spent a $3.5 million. I was one of the main characters. And then he wouldn't make it a hit piece on me, and so it was shelved. And this is the first film he's ever made that just went in the toilet. I mean, it's on the Discovery, and then the new person they brought in to totally change Discovery, they got sacked over it. So see, you have to understand, folks, bomb makers own Hollywood. Bomb makers, private banks, people that run wars. And so you can even have the president of a company wanting to put you in a movie or TV. Tommy, explain this to him, the crap people have to go through.
Well, I mean, like anything, you're making something with somebody else's money. So that automatically gives them a great influence on what you're making. And very few people have director's cut, that they get to whatever they make, the studio has to show. Very, very few people.
Rick gets that.
Yes. We've gotten that on the movies that we've made that you've been in.
You got that. You're the one that got it.
So, it's a difficult thing to achieve, and usually you have to trade off. Like, you have to take less money in order to get that. So a lot of people aren't willing to do that either.
Yeah, that's the big issue. And then you've got to go convince all the stars to do it for almost nothing.
Yeah, that's the same thing.
Has anybody? That's a rarity. What you did with Scanner Darkly, that's really hard to do, isn't it?
Yeah, it takes a lot of goodwill from a lot of people, and a lot of people getting on board. And luckily, Keanu Reeves and Robert Downey Jr. And actors of that caliber really were attracted to the script, the book that it was based on, and also Richard Linklater, the director. So,
and it's a totally different film.
Yeah.
The establishment did not like it, though.
It's hard to say. The great thing about it is that once the movie's out there, it's out there. And I actually really love what's going on with BitTorrent and how the movies are getting out there. And I've traveled, all around the world, and movies, even movies that I've made that haven't been distributed in those countries, they are developing a fan base. And I went to Korea recently, and we showed Scanner Darkly, and I asked the audience how many people, have seen the movie already. And BitTorrent's really big in Korea. And over 80% of the people raised their hands.
So it's big.
Yeah. But the thing about it is that they still came, they still paid for the movie, they still came to see it with an audience. So that shows me that, piracy necessarily doesn't mean that people will stop paying to have that shared experience.
In fact, it gives some alternative art a shot at actually being seen.
Right. So, I'm always happy to see.
Well, you don't like to whine and bitch, but there was some pressure that was bucked, and you guys didn't go along with it with Scanner. But I guess you don't want to get into that?
Well, I mean, I think
like they didn't want the cop blowing the guy's head off. I mean,
yeah, I mean, you always get these studio notes when you're making a film, and you always are kind of wondering, are they even watching the same movie that you're making? And it's a process, and you have to sort of argue passionately to keep the things in that you want to keep in, and you have to justify it, which is all right because most of the time I feel pretty firmly about what I believe, and I'm willing to argue about that with anyone.
Absolutely. Folks, we're playing a YouTube clip of Scanner Darkly up there. It does not do it justice. Buy the DVD. We have a link, by the way, on jonesreport.com where you can go over there and buy the DVD. I recommend you do that and support alternative media information. I talked to a lot of folks in Hollywood who want to make films like you're making, Tommy. They just, I guess, don't have the, I don't want to say skill. Things don't line up for them to ever get, I mean, even big names, to get to make something that's truly independent like you've been able to do over and over again.